So today we are going to cover these two pieces from DCS Audio, which just happen to be 2 of 3 pieces in the new Lina line. The DAC, or should I say the network DAC, and the master clock that mates up with the DAC. So let's cover these bad boys, because these are part of a 3-piece system specifically designed for headphones, which is pretty cool. And anyway, we already talked a lot about, we covered the 3 pieces in a prior video, and we really didn't hone in on the DAC. So let's talk about these pieces.
Well, I liked, it was the first time I was using Roon with this, and it just worked when I had, as a Roon endpoint, just plugged it in, saw it, worked.
Actually, you and me both.
It was like, yeah. So it was like, it wasn't really a learning process, because I plugged it in, turned it on, and it saw it.
Yeah,
worked.
And for those people that aren't familiar with Roon is kind of like a beautiful human interface to your digital world. It allows you to control everything this thing can connect to: local files, a NAS drive in your home, computer files, the external network, if you stream from a source like Qbuzz or Tidal. So anyway, the beauty of this, having a network DAC, is that like you basically free up needing like a separate laptop or an iPad. But
I mean, you could use that too, though.
Right, through the USB input.
Yeah.
But what I found like when using it at home is that once you hook it up to a network, through a CAT cable, all of a sudden your whole world changes in terms of how you use a DAC. If you've never done that before,
right?
Because it just allows you to just go with it. Once it's connected to your internal network or in your home, it sees everything, and DCS has an app that you can put in your phone, obviously, or your iPad or whatever, that allows you to control this. So you can choose inputs, etc. So anyway, let's go over the inputs in this thing because it's got a plethora of them. It has both single-ended RCA and balanced XLR analog outputs. So technically, you could run 2 devices off this easily. And of course, if you had Y adapters, you could probably run 3 or 4. All right. For digital inputs, it has 2 SPDIF, 1 RCA, and 1 BNC. It has 2 AES EBU balanced digital inputs. It, of course, has also a word clock, 2 word clock inputs, which are designed to hook up to an external clock, which we'll get to in a minute. It also has a standard USB input and optical inputs, and a network connection, which allows you to hardwire this to your home network. It doesn't run wireless, which is kind of a smart move on their part, because people tend to have problems with hooking up high-resolution DACs to wireless systems. Anything to the internal wireless at homes can be an issue. So they went with network-only hardwire, which absolves all kinds of issues that we've seen with people having DACs and anything wireless in a home in the past, right? So, I mean, you know what it's like hooking some of these things up to wireless.
Yeah, it never works.
Yeah. Or it's iffy.
It's always spotty. It's just not really reliable. Yeah. Well, if you could get away with it, a wire solves it.
Yeah, you don't question it then.
Yeah, right.
Especially like a show when we plugged these all in, we hardwired them all, and it was just a simple switch. It's like, well, that's worked. Reliable. Yeah.
Unless the network goes down, it's going to work.
No.
So anyway, yeah, that's great because too much problems with wireless. Now the master clock is a simple device. It's basically has 2 clock outputs that run BNC. You typically run short BNC cables, BNC to BNC digital SPDIF cables. The units come with that, the 2 unit that you need, or of course you can use aftermarket. And I believe each clock, there's 2 clocks in it. The master has a temperature-controlled crystal oven, blah, blah, blah. I don't know the whole routine. But,
yeah, something fancy.
But bottom line is it's designed to be spot on. It lowers the jitter even more and basically offers a cleaner clock than the internal clock in the DAC. So you could run the DAC by itself, but it definitely, from a stance, we've tried both. We tried with and without, with the clock, the clarity level comes up a bit. Sound stage increases,
Yeah, essentially, it doesn't like change the sound. It just that last little bit
enhances.
Yeah.
You get more of a sense of space around instruments.
Yep.
when you get to this level, and if you got some really good 2-channel speaker system or headphones running off this, the clock is pretty noticeable. In fact, it's surprising how much of a difference a clock will make.
I find it really matters on some tracks. It matters more than others.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is, even though it's optional, it's a beautiful addition to the DAC, and it's highly recommended. I mean, we've tried it both ways, and once you hear it, there ain't really no going back without the clock.
Well, I find any tracks that specifically have like space in them, that's where you really notice it.
Right.
Like you hear more decay, you hear more of a room. It's like that little, it just cleans it up that little bit.
Yeah, that's true. If you have a recording that's just dull and it doesn't have that space, then you might not notice it as much. But when you get into better recordings, it's pretty cool how it bumps up the res. And I should talk about, too, there are, on all 3 pieces of the Lina system, there are these power links, they call them. And they give you short Cat 6 cables or whatever they are, Cat 5s. They're basically just network connectors, and you can tie the 3 pieces together. And apparently, so far, the best we've been able to ascertain is what it's designed for. If you turn the DAC on and they're linked together in the rear, all 3 pieces come on simultaneously. I'm of the type that I just leave them on all the time.
Oh.
I like the gear warm, ready to play. But if you're the type of person that doesn't like doing that, then it's nice to be able to just hit one button and all 3 pieces come on. And we should talk about that. The one button on the back, there is a master switch that turns these things kills the AC to them entirely. So, but those master switches can remain on, and there's a button that's hidden under the front panel that if you just kind of tap it, it will turn the units on. So it's kind of easy. You don't have to get at the rear to turn these things on and off unless you want to kill power. If you're going to be gone on vacation or something, you just want them off. Then you just reach back, and it's a big toggle switch, so it's easy to find.
Yep.
Gives you the best of both worlds, though.
Yeah.
Because I don't like a lot of products. They're actually on when they're off.
Yeah,
And you can't turn the power off because there's no physical power switch. This gives you both. So if you want to be able to turn it on and off easily from the front panel, or if you want to physically remove power, it's a good option.
Yeah. I know, like, when I see like lightning or something like that, or I see a thunderstorm coming around, I tend to pull the plug out of the wall.
Well, that's the ultimate. Yeah.
But not everybody can do that when you get complex systems.
It's a little unnecessary.
That's a lot of plugs, So
it can be,
where this, you just reach around the left-hand side of each piece, and it's a master switch. It just kills the AC right where it comes in. So, but yeah, back in terms of sound, let's talk about, obviously this thing's got all the bells and whistles, all ins and outs. It's a full-fledged DAC. We talked about the fact that it's completely ready to go on a network. It's Roon ready. So if you already have Roon, you know what we're talking about. If not, it's a cool subscription service, and you should look into it, because it does give you a simple single interface that lets you get at your files at home. If you subscribe to Tidal, you can control that.
I think that's the biggest thing is that, if you have multiple services that you subscribe to, it just puts them all in one place.
Yeah.
So you don't need to open separate apps and everything. You sign them all in on the one, and then they're all right there. You just could easily switch between them.
Yeah, and more importantly, you don't have to learn each of these apps and where everything is. Where Roon gives you one access point for everything, and it's really good. I mean, there's our album artwork on it, and you can pull up information on the artists and stuff. There's a lot of things that I haven't even used.
Yeah, it's got a lot of features too. Yeah, they got like their own Crossfeed and EQ and everything. You can just toggle on and off whenever you want. So it is very convenient.
So Roon is a partner with DCS, as are We Abyss headphones, and the 3 pieces combined make a really fun system to utilize. But anyway, if you're not there yet, I understand. If you're at the point where you're running a laptop, and you're used to it, and you want to hook up hardware to USB here, that's fine. It's good to go to work with that. Some people just have a PC with files on their hard drive, and that's where they play their local files, and that's fine. It'll work fine too, But you got to trust us when you say it wasn't that far long ago. That's the way we were playing music.
Yeah, pretty much every other DAC I connected to my PC, but then with this thing, I just use my iPad.
Yeah,
it's nice.
Right.
And I don't need it at my desk then. So
Agreed.
That's nice too. I could put it somewhere else.
Yeah, this thing could be nearby the gear.
Yep.
And you could be wherever you want, controlling it with the app. And And I mean, for the most part, I think people are just kind of playing music. So, but I don't know. I find myself with the iPad in front of me, or even my iPhone, just whipping through songs.
Oh yeah, well, that's
I'm
the
going
thing.
through stuff on my hard drive.
Yeah, it's so fast in that interface. Like you can just, it's so quick.
Yeah.
And it's very slick.
Yeah, and you can watch the screen. The screen comes up and it shows the res that you're playing,
Yeah.
and it just grabs your music off your network and just throws it through the network cable and run through the DAC. You don't need, like a lot of people run like Autorvana or something like that, right, to play their high res. Well, this will play DSD files right off a drive in the home somewhere. As long as it's accessible on your network,
Or you could plug it
it'll
in.
find it.
You just plug a drive right
Oh,
in.
that's true too. Yeah. So that when you get to that level of simplicity, you go, wow, this is actually kind of nice. I don't need to have a dedicated laptop with music on it with a hard drive, external hard drive or whatever that. But bottom line is that it's more exciting than you think to switch to a network DAC than I thought it would be.
Yeah, I was thinking, yeah, it's a nice feature to have. I probably wouldn't use it, but now I would exclusively use that.
Me
with
too.
it.
It's really difficult because I remember we took these to one of the shows, all right, and while it was gone, I think I shipped mine from home. I was using the Sagra DAC,
Yeah.
11 audio Sagra. Anyway, I was using a different DAC, and so I had to hardwire it, and I'm like, the funny thing is, I'm like, oh, I got to find my USB cable. Oh yeah, where did I put the laptop? And it's like I couldn't play anything. It's like as soon as I got rid of the network DAC, I found myself like, oh, I got to go back to the way it used to be with the hardware. And it's kind of funny when it's a long story, but you'll see if you haven't done this yet, you'll find it. It'll happen to you.
Yeah, well, I ran into the same thing because when we shipped these to the show, and I didn't have them, and I still had the Bartok for like a day or two more. I normally just plugged it in my computer, but I actually started using it like this because it's also a Roon endpoint.
Oh,
so
right.
now it's liberated from my desk as well. It didn't fit. I mean, it like overhangs the desk, but
Yeah,
now I don't need to have it at my desk. So
yeah.
it's kind of opened my eyes to network.
Agreed.
Music.
And it's not. This isn't an inexpensive DAC, and you certainly can get less expensive network DACs, but in the terms of DCS, and let's talk about the sound of this, this is their lowest cost DAC,
Right.
and and which means they have higher models than this, the Bartok, and I think they have two more models above that to get into the 40, 50 grand and up
Yeah.
range, right? And so but the beauty of this Lina setup is really all that tech that they've been working on for decades has trickled down to this. Sonically speaking, this is certainly up there with some of the best DACs you can buy. And, we've got the upper end Bartok, which is nearly twice the price of this. And this ain't too far away.
It's pretty similar. I mean, short of having them both right in front of you,
Yeah.
it'd be hard to remember the differences,
Particularly when you add the clock.
Yeah.
Like the Bartok we were using without an external clock.
Yeah,
Now
right.
you add this clock to this, and it's probably leapfrogs in certain areas. It probably gets beyond the Bartok a little bit, But in terms of just beautiful clarity to the source, it doesn't seem to matter what source you're playing, whether it be, Redbook 44.1, DSD, streaming from the network or streaming from something like a subscription service like Tidal. Very even character for all sources.
Yeah. Some stuff, you want to run it in a specific way, but this doesn't seem to matter.
No, it just plays well. I mean, and we're talking from top to bottom. It's, some DACs can be a little leaner at the bottom. This is full out, just full range. It sounds great in the bass, mids, highs. It has a great high frequency extension to it. Like, you're listening to this thing and it's just like effortless in the top. It doesn't seem to be missing anything, but yet it's not bright. It never gets bright or never bites you.
Oh, it also has a Crossfeed, which it would be a Crossfeed I would actually use, which is unusual. Normally you turn it on, you're like, ugh. But this, I actually use it on this one.
Yeah, and we've heard some other reviewers to say the same thing on it with the Crossfeed. I said it's a very useful for headphones Crossfeed, and I haven't played with it much. I just leave it in regular mode, but what have you found that it does that's cool?
Well, again, it's kind of like adding the clock. It depends on the track. Some tracks benefit from it. Some it's like I could barely tell the difference. So you pretty much need to toggle on and off track to track, which it's easy enough. I mean, it's on the screen all the time. You just
in fact, I think one of the buttons on the front is just Crossfeed on and off.
Yeah.
So it's easy to turn it off. Or the app.
I actually use it, which I've never done that before with.
That's true. Yeah, usually you try a Crossfeed and it's like, it doesn't. It usually mucks up the soundstage. And
Yeah.
it doesn't help you as much. It might depend on the headphone too,
Maybe.
you know, because with our headphones, you tend to get a lot of sense of space. So it's possible a lot of times we don't even, it's not required. Crossfeed just kind of, you hear the crossfeed.
Yeah.
You hear what it's doing.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the easiest way to explain this one. This one, you don't hear what it's doing. It just does it. You know, it doesn't screw things up, which is pretty cool. I mean, I'm sure the engineers that designed this spent a lot of time to make this thing that compatible with high-end headphones. I mean, that's tough to do. A lot of people have tried to implement it, and usually most people say they don't like it. So for everyone to be fairly universal in the fact that it works well on this is testament to their engineering chops, so to speak. Is that
Yeah.
what
And I think that's a fair point because at this price point, really, I think the biggest value add is refinement. What you're looking for is a product that's well considered and the functions work as intended and there's no glaring faults or oversights. And a lot of times you find products where a particular attribute or aspect of them seems poorly refined and it could be a nuisance to use on the day to day. And this doesn't seem to have that. It seems to be very well considered, refined. And that's
Totally.
it's oddly enough rare in the high-end space to see something that works intuitively and reasonably well in every possible attribute. So that's a pretty good feature if you ask me.
And not to mention the chassis engineering and the design is top shelf. You know, these are beefy units. They're heavy. They have built-in power supplies. They're universal supplies. They'll run 100 through 240. You don't need to do anything. Just choose your power cord for them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of nice. There's no worldwide operation. You don't need to have anyone rewire it for you or anything like that. There's nothing to think about, nothing to screw up. You plug and play, you know.
These have been out for a little bit now, and we haven't had any reliability issues or concerns, which you can't always say, so that's good.
Yeah, really.
They seem well considered, well thought out, really easy to use. Obviously, very high-end construction. And I think it's pretty cool. They got basically a rigid flex PCB assembly inside there. There's like little wings that fold up on the sides and the back and stuff. It's an interesting design. It's a very good way to do that. It's somewhat expensive to do it that way, but it's kind of cool. And I'd like to get one of those PCBs bare,
Oh,
just to have on your desk.
yeah, hanging on the wall.
yeah.
Bottom line is DCS knows their shit. You know, they've been around for decades, and they like I said, they build very high-end DACs. They're considered some of the best DACs on the planet. So to have that tech, you know, with their what they call a ring DAC technology, trickle down into such a small package. And I mean, we've got them sitting horizontal here. They're also made to stack on top of each other. So if you really wanted to drop a footprint down, you know, what are you talking, like 8 by 12 inches?
It's
or
pretty small, yeah.
whatever it is in millimeters or centimeters, I don't know. But yeah, you could stack these three this high and you've got a full system without taking up minimal desk space, which
Yeah.
is crazy.
Small footprint, but very heavy. You pick up all three at the same time? Wow.
Yeah, they add up. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you
They
probably,
stack pretty elegantly, too.
Yeah.
And that's the thing to note, because a lot of gear really doesn't.
right.
You could stack it, but it kind of looks silly. It works pretty well stacked. So I would probably do that.
Yeah, they actually look good stacked. They have an extended bottom that's like full solid.
Yeah.
It's not just 4 feet; it's a solid base. So when you stack them, it actually gaps to three by a bit. 15 centimeters or so, or whatever.
It's
it
got
is.
a big rubber foot, too, that
Yeah.
lays on the whole area so it doesn't mar up the one below it.
Yeah, it doesn't leave a ring or
Yeah, there's
anything.
no
on it
weird
either,
rings
so
or
that's
anything.
nice. But yeah, the thing is yeah, it's nice small footprint when you stack especially if you stack all three. But then it's like it's a huge tower. Then different
Yeah.
problem. Then it's like whoa, I
Yeah.
got this big thing. here.
Sturdy,
Oh yeah.
but yeah. And of course, you got to have a desk that'll hold that kind of. You're probably talking 45 pounds or 20,
Oh,
about
they're
20
hefty,
kilograms total. But yeah, bottom line is that it's cool that you could do that with this. And I've got a rack at home, and when I use them at home, I have a 3x3 horizontal, so it's got 3 shelves next to 3 shelves,
Yep.
full size, stereo rack. And so normally what I consider a rack with like 18 inches or something like that, but you could fit 2 of these side by side on one rack.
Yeah, it does fit nice.
And then you'll need another rack for the third one. So, for example, you could put the clock one down on another rack or something like that, or just put all 3 across and have space. So it will fit. You could fit 2 on one single rack shelf, which is kind of cool too. So, again, like we said, it's well thought out. They figured this all out in advance. They knew what they were shooting for. They knew the market. They knew the customers, what they're going to have. They probably anticipated that a lot of the 2-channel speaker guys are going to want to go this way at some point or switch over to high-end headphones as well as their speakers. And this will fit and integrate into their system, and they can use the DAC for those speakers. It's a great DAC.
Well, that's the nice thing with dual outputs. You could just have both connected all the time.
Yep.
Use one at a time.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
There's almost nothing to talk about with it, which is kind of odd
I know.
because it just works. You plug it in, it's refined, it functions great.
You
and
choose the
it's
input.
integrated.
Yeah.
Right. So
That's it.
that's a very positive attribute,
Tell
I
me about
think.
it.
That's sort of what I look for, but it's strange. There's no glaring faults or issues.
Yeah. Hook up a network, plug it into the wall outlet, load the app in your phone. The
Yeah.
app finds the thing. It says, "Here I am," and it comes up and says, "All right, what do you want to do? You want to play Tidal? You want me to find tracks on your music at home? Okay, here's your hard drive. Let's look at the folders. Here's your songs in your folders. What do you want to play?" And it just, bam, it just plays it. So, I mean, it's amazing. It really is a fun piece for digital. Really is. And it sounds great. It's, it's a more analog sounding piece than any DAC we've ever owned, aside from their higher up models, of course.
Yeah. I mean, that's the nice thing. A testament to the design is you didn't need to read the manual. Just take it out and turn it on.
Yeah, true.
It just
It's
worked.
true. Yeah. Although it might be a trick to know that little button in the front middle is underneath there to turn it on.
That is true. Yeah, you got to look at the
It's
diagram. Yeah.
It's got a unique interface.
You power it
yeah.
up, and in the front of the deck, there's a little button you just touch. So, but beyond that,
Well, and with the same with the headphone amp, that hidden gain switch.
Right.
You wouldn't know that's there.
yeah, in the
either.
right corner.
Yeah.
I think they did probably default to high gain, so I think it comes out of the box like that, but don't
Yeah.
quote me on that. So it's probably ready to go full volume anyway. I know that this DAC does have voltage out. You can do 2 volts or 6 volts out, which 6 volts is a pretty good amount. So if you're mixing with other amps, you got to watch that setting. But it's designed to work with its own Lina amplifier, which we don't have here on the table, which looks the same as these devices with one big knob on it, right? The dedicated headphone amplifier for this is designed to work with up to the 6 volts output on this. So
Yeah.
if you want the max gain and power you can get out of the matching headphone amp, you set this for 6 volts. For a lot of amplifiers, separate amplifiers, even speaker amps and stuff, you're probably going to switch it to 2. And again, it's easy to switch on the front menu or from an app. So, and it's not like it's putting out full 6 volts even to have it set for 6 volts. It's a max. It's it depends on the music you're playing. So anyway, that is, in a nutshell, is the DCS Lina. It's impressive. We've lived with it practically all year this year, so we've had about 8 or 9 months with these pieces. They never cease to amaze me at what they can do. They just play music so well, and you've had it for a while too. We've traded back and forth, and
Yep. It's like a baby Bartok.
yeah, and it's fun. It really is. I've been doing this a long time, and I wouldn't have thought I'd enjoyed new pieces like this so much. Really, it's changed the way that I deal with my system in a positive way. So hats off to DCS for doing what they did here. I probably wouldn't have taken the digital side of things this far if it wasn't for this. I'd be sitting there with a USB cable hooked up to a laptop.
Yeah.
So kudos to these guys for making a beautiful system for headphones and for speaker systems. Thanks everybody for watching. Don't forget, we are a DCS authorized dealer, so these pieces are available on the Abyss website. And if you have any questions, of course, we kind of know about these things, so email us, call us. If you need us to help you put together a system around these, we can help you with that too. Thumbs us up. Thanks.